Welcome back to Jorola's Garage. If you guys remember in the last video that I did, I mentioned that I sprung a leak on the 997 GT3. It's coming from the transmission, not really sure where, so let's get it up on the lift and find out what's going on. Stay tuned. For those of you that did not see the last video, I mentioned that I took this car up to the mountains a couple weeks ago. I did 2 weekends up there with in the mountains, put about 3,000 miles on the car. And when I was pushing hard, I could smell oil, and I thought it was coming from the oil. I had a thing of oil in the front there, engine oil, and I don't know, for some reason I just thought it was coming from there. But it turns out I'm pretty sure what it was the transmission oil that I was smelling. So on one of those little runs up one of those roads, I was pushing pretty hard, and I realized that when I stopped, there was a big puddle of oil underneath the car. So I looked, and sure enough, it's coming from the transmission. So I don't know why, I don't know how. You know, on these cars you can't see absolutely anything. So the only way to know, get it up on the lift. Let's find out. Let's see what's going on. It's hot today. Man, it's hot. Even Piggy agrees with me, huh, baby girl? It's hot. Now that we got the car in the air, let's see what's going on. You can see all of this is dirty. Well, it was dripping oil from there. Again, I don't know where it's coming from. You can see all of this is all covered, just absolutely covered in grime. So I guess the first thing I need to do is take this cover off here and see really what's going on. I see here, looks like that little tab right there broke. That may have happened just now. I don't know. I got pinched somewhere somehow. I heard a noise, and maybe that's what it was. So, all right, I gotta put a big washer there. All right, let's get this panel off. Let's see what happens. So I don't know how much you guys can really see of that. Let me put it in the sun. I mean, it's grimy. It is just absolutely covered in oil or dirt or grease. So let's see. I think I know what happened. This panel goes like this, right? This little thing right here, it's like an air scoop. I guess the direct air to the transmission looks like it was rubbing on the CV boot, as you can see here, and the CV boot is broken. So one possibility is that the oil that was coming out of there was the grease from the CV boot that got hot, turned to liquid, and was pouring out. That's my first hypothesis, I guess you could say, if that's the right word, as to what our theory, or whatever you want to call it, as to what happened. Let me look a little further and see if I can see. I mean, obviously that happened. This is absolutely dry, and that could very well be what happened here. But let me look a little bit further and see if I can find anything else going on here. Issue number 2. You see that silver slit there of output shaft? Yeah, that's not supposed to be like that. It's supposed to be like that, nice and snug up against the transmission. But this one is not. Hold on, let me lower the car a little bit so I can have better access here. I mean, I have long arms, but still I'm all the way up there. Let me lower it so I can put a little more force on it. Okay, so we're back. All right, now you see that in there? Yeah, you're not supposed to be able to see that. And you see how this thing moves? So this one, I mean, this one moves a little bit too, but still, it's much further in. Huh. Oh, look at that. Oh, that's not good. That's not good at all. Ah, that explains so much. Okay, so one of the things that was happening was when I was on a high G, let's say a right-hand turn, all of a sudden I would lose all traction, right? It was like, it was making a weird noise, and the car didn't move, and I didn't know. I obviously had no idea what's going on. And again, with these cars, without taking these panels off, there's absolutely no way to know what's happening. So I had no idea. I would stop, you know, I'd put it in gear, and eventually it would get going again, and everything was fine until I hit another super hard right-hander, and it would do the same thing. It would make a noise, almost like it was dragging one of the plastic panels on the ground. It was a really weird noise. I never heard it before. And the car would just not move. So I thought the diff might be done. Now, seeing this, it's still a possibility that the diff might be done, but it seems like it's working okay as long as it's in. So what I'm gonna have to do is bolt that up. Here, let me go back to it. All right, so what I'm guessing is when this would come out all the way, all of a sudden you see this one spins and this one does not. Whereas, you know, with the limited slip, it's supposed to, like that, you see, you spin one and the other wheel turns. But when this comes out completely like that, this spins and this does not. So I think that's my problem. I need to find out. There's a bolt that goes inside of there. That bolt probably came loose. So the bolt in there probably came loose, and that's why this came out, and it could be that that's why all the oil was coming out of the seal here. So, all right, well, not, you know, at least I know that that's what was going on. So I'm gonna take this, I need to take this axle off, undo the axle, and see, regardless, that CV boot is done. I didn't hear any noises from the CV joint itself, so I'm just going to leave that. I'll replace the boot, but I need to figure out what happened inside of here. Also, I'll need to drain the oil and see, number one, how much oil is still left in that transmission, because it was leaking out quite a bit. So I don't think the issue that I thought I had here with the CV, the grease from the CV boot was all that oil. It was actually coming out of there. So let me drain the oil. I need to see how much oil is still left in the transmission. Hopefully it didn't run too dry. I don't think it did, but still, I need to check. So let me get on all of that. I got to take this wheel off. This one's got to come off. I got to take these bolts off here, take the axle off of the output shaft here, and then see what I'm working with. Now that I have this thing off, I need to get inside of there and get those six Torx bolts off of here, so I can loosen that axle, get it out of the way. Let me see what's going on inside of that output shaft there. All right, so I'm going to show you guys in real time here. I'll put the camera here. I got all the bolts loose here, so we can take the axle out. Look at that. Sure enough. Look at that bolt. See that bolt? It came loose. This is what holds the output shaft onto the differential. And that's what would cause it, or not cause it, but allow it to come out. Wait, camera here. All right. This is going to be a little bit of an issue here, that I can't get this axle out. Okay, so anyway, let me, I got to put the camera down. I need my hands for this. Let me see what I can do here. So what I think I'm going to do here is I'm going to remove this dog bone and this dog bone. That way the whole hub assembly can tilt out towards me, and that might give me enough space there to work on that axle, which is inside of there, because there's no room in there. So I'm going to try that. Maybe getting this guy this way, I can do it. If not, so here's the output shaft, or flange, or whatever you want to call it. The output, not the flange. Yeah, the output shaft from the transmission. I might as well change that seal in there while I'm at it. I already have the thing out, so I might as well change that seal before I put it back together. But I definitely need to deal with this CV joint. So I need to get this cap off right here. So like there's a little circlip inside of there that will allow me to slide the whole CV joint out. Then I can get a new boot, new boot kit, whatever, put some new grease on there, put it back together, and should be good to go. And then I need to figure out what the torque spec is for that output flange bolt that goes in there. Torque it back in, and should be good to go. I still need to drain the oil though and see what's happening with the oil, how much oil is actually still left in that transmission. I hope there's still a lot of oil in there. I wouldn't be too happy knowing I ran it dry. So to be determined. Well, looks like there's still a pretty good amount of grease in there, so I'm not really going to worry about the joint. I'm sure the CV joint is fine. I just need to replace that boot. So again, like I said, get that circlip out, get the CV joint out, and assembly is the reverse of disassembly, right? Isn't that what they say? And here we go. Here's the CV boot, the CV joint, the broken boot. This is that little circlip that's kind of a pain to get out. If I had some like 90-degree angled circlip removers, it'd be easier. But all I have is these guys here. But whatever, I got it done. So now I need to take the boot off. I gotta see, I might have a CV boot kit that will fit this. Otherwise, I will need to order one. And the seal up there, I don't know if I'm gonna change it. I don't know. It wasn't leaking until the shaft popped out, so whatever, I'll take a look. But anyway, first things first, I gotta see if I have a CV boot kit that will fit that. And then you can see up here, this is the axle flange here. Yeah, that's the CV axle right there, covered in grease. This is one of my least favorite things to do because everything you touch gets covered in grease. And I'm talking covered, and it's just black and grimy and just messy. But what am I gonna do? I gotta do it. Anyway, let me go see if I find a CV boot kit that'll fit that. All right, well, I don't have the CV boot that fits this because the axle on the GT3 is much thicker in diameter than all the ones I have. This side is the same, but this side is not. So I'm gonna have to order that. And if I'm gonna order that, might as well order a new the seal, the oil seal, because might as well. Couple dollars. I already have a part, so that's kind of where I'm at. I'm gonna finish there. I'm gonna at least with the CV, with the axle. I'm going to drain the oil right now. Let's see what comes out of that thing. Let's see how much oil comes out. Kind of curious to know. Okay, and now the moment. Now the moment of truth. Let's see how much oil comes out of this transmission. I'm hoping it's quite a bit, and I'm hoping I didn't run it too dry. All right, well, there was oil. Oof. Yeah, that's probably from when the that output shaft was grinding against the diff. There's not really much oil in here. All right, I'll just let it drain and then see what happens. Okay, so I checked how much oil I took out of there, and it was 1.5 quarts. Again, I'm not happy about it, but it is what it is. That's what came out. So all I can do now is deal with it. So I'm gonna go ahead and order the seal for the output flange. I'm gonna order the CV boot kit. and then I should be able to just put this thing back together and clean it all up, get all this gunk off of here. That pan that goes underneath also was just completely caked with grease and oil, so I'm going to clean that up, and that should be it for now. So I'll be back with part 2 when I get the new parts. And that's going to wrap up today's video on the GT3. I need to order that oil seal. I need to order the CV boot kit. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take the axle on the other side off as well and make sure that bolt is torqued properly so that the same thing doesn't happen to me on the other side. I never would have imagined that that's what happened, because those bolts, you know, when they're properly torqued, they don't come out, but this one did. And I think it's been happening over time. It didn't just happen from one moment to the next, because I had seen a little bit of oil seepage coming from back there before. I just could never figure out where it was coming from. So now that the bolt backed out all the way, that flange was completely going in and out to where it would lose contact with the oil seal, and that's where all that oil was coming from. So at least I know it. I'm not crazy about it, but it is what it is. I know it, I can fix it, and we can move on. So I'll probably make another video when I go ahead and put this thing back together. Till then, I can't really do anything with it. It's going to go up in the air, here or over there, I don't know, somewhere out of my way, so that I can still get cars in and out of here. And that's it. So once I get the parts, I'll go ahead and finish this one up. So please hit the like button, hit the subscribe. That helps me with the algorithms and all that. And as always, yeah, thank you for watching.